What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, and you're tuning into another episode of Fresh Out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the channel. You know, we got the dopest content on YouTube. We keep it real, have the best guests. Everybody's always trying to steal our guest. And today I have with me a tattoo extraordinaire. This guy's animal when it comes to getting down with that ink. And he has some stories, man. This ain't your typical prison talk stories, but he has some life stories, some crazy shit that he's been through that hopefully you guys can take some life lessons from. Sailor, man,
Yeah.
you know, we've had some off-camera conversations, and the homie Nick, man, shout out to Nick for hooking me up with you, man.
Yeah,
Told me
Nick's solid, man.
Nick's solid as a
Yeah.
solid as a goddamn Grand Canyon, man.
I'm telling you.
Good dude, man.
Yeah.
He said, dude, you got to meet my homie Sailor, man. This dude, he's got some stories, man. This dude, blah blah blah. So I'm like, man, let me get him on the show.
Yeah.
You know, what's one of the memorable moments you've had? I know you have many in life where you've had to deal with situations, man. But what's one that kind of stands out that you think the audience would definitely want to hear about?
I mean, man, we could take it back. I mean, from as far back as I can remember, like I said, I don't know. I think that growing up, I had a lot of things that kind of molded me, into having a mentality where I guess I learned to handle things kind of in a certain fashion or in a way that was just kind of a little bit more straightforward,
Yeah.
I grew up in the east side of Palmdale, so there's been a lot of situations that I feel like just this kind of could have been handled in a way like a lot more maturely. That I at a lot of times I would just take off on somebody, you know what I mean? Whether it be in a bar or at a venue or whatever, and I kind of just had that wild lifestyle like so many times over and over again. Got kicked out of this bar, 86 for life for fighting, or like a situation where being a bigger guy with tattoos, and trying to kind of establish myself in the industry. You're trying to meet people and promote people, and then you get into this situation where it's a challenge to somebody, or they see that and they kind of want to question, like, how about it you really are, or like where you're from, or what you're really about.
Those tattoos for real, or they
They just see the tattoos and the presence that you kind of bring about yourself. And I think that, like I said, was molded back in just growing up where I did, like on the east side of Palmdale.
And a lot of people don't know about Palmdale, man. Palmdale, you got a lot of people who used to be from LA who moved to Palmdale.
See, and that was right when it changed for me. Like, when I grew up young, probably before 10 or 12, it wasn't really too crazy. But once I hit the age where, like, it started being, like, about your style and your shoes or your hat or your clothes, like, that was also right when they were moving people out the projects of LA out into Palmdale, you know? So I grew up on the far east side, and there was a lot of that cheap housing and stuff kind of in the center of Palmdale where everything was, which wasn't more than 5-10 miles from me.
Wow.
So I was actually right on the border and had to go to school out in Little Rock, but even before that, when I was running around in Palmdale, it was like, you had different cultures on different sides of the neighborhood. So even just for me to go to school or go to McDonald's or go to wherever on bike or on a skateboard or whatever, I had to learn to almost puff my chest out like at a young age.
So did they bring a lot of those LA elements to Palmdale?
Yeah, totally, man. And it felt like that. Like, it felt like I went from just like being like, I don't know, a skateboard kid to like, now you kind of toughen up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I started seeing like that, like, in the neighborhood, just for fun, kids were just boxing each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It wasn't about doing the ollie kickflip anymore.
Yeah. And then it became a little bit more like, territorial over the years. And then as the neighborhood started growing and more people started flooding in, like I said, it became a thing where it was like you're just constantly in defense mode. You know what I mean? All the time. And I think I kind of carried that aggression along with, like, certain things that happened. Maybe my parents getting divorced. Maybe like I got in trouble in 7th grade already, like with the law, trying to sell weed at school. So like, so you know, like I was already kind of headed into the wrong path and into the wrong corner, and there was really not many other options around you in Palmdale at that point. You know, like I said, there was the desert. We would try to go ride our bikes, but in doing so, you know, you might be running away from somebody trying to steal your bike.
Did you
know?
feel any pressure to like join a gang at that time? Like people trying to like get you involved and stuff like that?
No, I never felt pressure. I mean, I never felt like, you know, like it was something that I had to do, but it definitely was something that I was just naturally around and didn't even kind of at the time realize it. You know, I was a little bit too young and naive to realize that these kids that are 18 and 19 with, you know, gang tattoos on their face or whatever, like, you know, I just thought that it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
The tattoos on the face were cool. You know, and they were hooking us up. They're like, you know, at a young age, here's a beer, man. Like, let's go have some carne asada. And, you know, and then by the end of the night, everybody's a little older and they putting on boxing gloves right in the front yard. And it was just normal. You know, and then that same group of guys I would watch, you know, as I'm playing basketball in my front yard, they're taking this kid's shoes, you know, from the corner, just that they don't know this kid because they don't know where he's from. He's not from our neighborhood or
Did
whatever.
you see any of your friends get caught up in the process because of just like
Oh yeah.
influences?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of parties we were at. There was some drive-by shootings, and one of our friends' had gotten shot. And then one of the major things that kind of, I think, again, put a little bit of like resentment or a little bit of anger into me was when I was young, I was kind of, again, caught in between. I know I rode BMX for a while, and then I played football and skateboarded. And like, once you get to high school, those three things don't really mix well.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, out there, they all start to segregate kind of like they do in jail.
Yeah.
And so there was this one party in particular where I remember I was playing ball and I was just a freshman, and then there was this kid who had just graduated who was a skateboarder that I had known for probably 4 or 5 years. And long story short, man, he went to take his chick home from this after-school high school party, and she was a cheerleader, and the football players and him were kind of arguing over, you know, what was going to happen, and ended up being a brawl. And he got up, went home, everything got broke up, but he never woke up. And that was probably the first time like I experienced someone close to me like get that badly injured or like experience death, you know, and I was only 12 or 13 or some shit like that, you know. I was like, man, and it was crazy was like some of the football players that we were all looking up to that had scholarships that were ready to go like do something good with their life, they all threw all that shit away, man, for you know, beating this kid up at a high school party, you know.
Manslaughter charges, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, because they were they were right at 17, 18 years old, you know, seniors in high school, there was a lot of, I think there was a lot of like conflict on whether what the real consequences would be.
Charged as adult
you
or
know,
youth or...
Yeah, exactly, and whether it was really like premeditated or not, because, you know, it was really, a high school fight wasn't really nothing. It happened all the time where we were at. You expected it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you almost went to a party just to see who was going to fight who.
Exactly.
You know?
Oh, so-and-so's going to beat her. Okay, I want to beat her because
those
two got beef.
Straight up, you know? And so that, I think I just kind of learned that mentality, and I never took it on and sided up with anybody.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think my parents did a lot to try to keep me involved in anything they could that would keep me going, whether it was sports or, like I said, BMXing, even supporting my skateboarding, which that was more of a street thing, and that influenced a lot more my street life. But, you know, once I got in trouble again in junior high, I had some weed on me at school. Basically, some kid beat up a kid again, and over this fight, they ended up losing some money, so they ended up searching everybody in this locker room. And I was one of the last fools out of the locker room.
Oh, wow.
You know, so just by chance they catch me, you know, with my little bit of weed. And this was right after, like, again, my parents had separated. So I had my little scam down. I was getting it from over here and bringing it over here. And, you know, I thought I was this little hustler, right? And my mom wasn't having it.
You weren't going for it.
Nah, not at all.
Do you regret not sticking with skateboarding?
Sometimes, I mean, it's still a passion of mine. I think I've just, because of what I do now with my hands, I can't really risk it.
Yeah.
You know, so I stick to snowboarding, which is, you know, still risky, but still gives me that same feeling and that same freedom.
Yeah.
But, you know, definitely, I mean, even skateboarding, it influenced where I'm at now because I would just look at the artwork on the bottom of the deck and be like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and then the kids would take us over to the skate parks, and the older kids would be doing graffiti on the skate park ramps.
Yeah.
You know, and all that. I was just like, damn. You know, I'd see all that, and I liked the way that looked a lot more than like the gang writing on the walls. You know, because that came with like the sound of like that, me hearing the pit bulls fighting behind those walls.
Yeah.
You know, me hearing the gang and the shoots and like the shootouts of the gunshots behind those walls. So I was like, you know, I don't want to ditch school and go that way. If we're ditching school, we're going to go skate park, you know, or whatever.
And that's cool that you had that option with the parks because, like I said, it's when you said the transition, I remember I skateboarded all the way up to my freshman year.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a pro. This is before.
Dude, I thought I was going,
you know what I mean?
for sure.
That one, you know, we used to, you know, you want to get a sponsorship. Everybody, your whole goal is to get sponsored.
100%.
So you go to these little street contests, you try to like compete. And, you know, I used to do those, and you know, you'd hope that maybe somebody seeing you can get like some free decks or free trucks or whatever the case may be. And but it was like a turning point too when I was freshman. It wasn't as hip in high school to be a skater because I wore Jimmy Z's or I had on these GNS pants. You know, I had on Jimmy Z's with a T-shirt that said Bones on it, and they're like, "Oh, black dude wearing this shit." You know what I mean? It was like I felt weird. And then I had either that or play basketball.
Right.
So then you start like, you know.
Same for me. So it's football and skateboarding.
Yeah.
You know, so there was a contrast there, but now I appreciate it because it molded me into a person that is kind of more open-minded to all those different cultures, and really they kind of, I guess, molded like the way I create my art and the way I do my tattooing now. You know. I don't necessarily stick to one thing or the other because of the different influences that I've had from family at a young age to growing up a certain way, and then getting into high school, and then moving from the Antelope Valley because of all that trouble. You know, my mom scooted both me and my sister out of the crib before we were like 13, right around 13.
Okay.
You know. To go live in the safest city in the world or whatever at the time was Simi Valley.
Oh yeah, because there's a lot of cops out there. You don't mess around out there.
Right, right. So supposedly it was going to be the better route, and I don't know. I just got away with more out there. You know, it was just like my dad was just like, oh, he's playing football, so he's doing good. And it was just like being a football player and kind of doing somewhat good. I just kind of got this like pass.
Yeah.
You know, so then I got into drinking and smoking weed again at a real young age. And I was probably smoking weed daily for sure before I was out of high school. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just, like I said, I had this like, I don't give a fuck mentality. And then at the time I still had that extreme, I don't know, adrenaline rush guy to me, you know, where football was doing it for me, but also like I was still into like snowboarding, and I wanted to get into tattooing because I seen these guys on TV that are dirt bike backflips and 1080s on snowboards and all this crazy shit, and they all got tattoos, and they're all the rock stars, you know what I mean?
So that's what influenced you?
Yeah, you know, so I'm looking at like guys like Travis Barker, I'm looking at guys that are like, you know, really doing it. Yeah, that are doing stuff that's just wowing people, you know, and I'm just looking at it like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I just want that reaction factor. Like I was always kind of a class clown, but then doing something where people were like, damn, like they have that dude made a statement with that or whatever, you know, like that kind of like, I think really impacted me to the point to where I started like, I don't know, drawing towards that in a sense.
Do you feel like on that path you were kind of searching to try to find your like place in society or in culture?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where you fit in and what
Definitely.
was your
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a lot of guidance with that. And then in high school, my pops got sick, and he was hospitalized for years. So I didn't have a lot of like, him hovering over me. Like I said, I got away with a lot, so I think I had to kind of like learn to deal with a lot of those things, or like, whatever, kind of on my own. So like a lot of just like you said, just kind of feeling like, all right, what's going to be like my move? Like I really want to go pro with this football stuff. And I probably could have, but I know my grades aren't that good. You know what I mean? Because I was already sidetracked with the after the football game parties.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And already with that.
So you were a high school jock?
Yeah. I would say. And when I got to high school, I probably moved to Simi and got a little bit more away from the skateboarding, and a little bit more into the football.
Okay.
For sure.
So were you talking to any colleges or anything like that?
I actually had a couple looks. Yeah, one of my the lineman coach, I played linebacker, but he and I were neighbors by chance. So I was actually always over there helping him out at his house and doing chores, and him and my dad were real good friends. My dad was always on the sideline when he could be. And, so I kind of made that commitment to like, athleticism and being healthy and kind of making sure that I was going to go the right direction and like, still kind of do like every teenager and go and party, but like I was definitely getting committed towards like I'm gonna go to college and play football, and I ended up getting a couple of looks, but I also had done 3 years in high school with the same art teacher, and I had already started gaining my interest in art and tattooing, and I was drawing tattoos in high school for a lot of friends. They were basically getting these tattoos done, and showing them off like they're these tough football players. And again, I started getting that like everybody kind of like, oh shit, he did that. Like that's kind of cool. And I was like, I thought that was cool, So now I'm like kind of scooting both ways because tattoos and football are going together now. Some of the better football players, were getting buff and getting tatted.
And those were your tattoos they were using?
And then some of them were like, they wanted their number designed like 55. And so I would just tag it up because growing up in Palmdale, I'd see these letters and I would just draw these letter forms, or like, I would see like how like a lot of like the people that had their shirts off that were out there boxing on the corners, I seen their last names blasted on their backs big like this, or the neighborhood blasted big on the back. So I would just caught onto it. It just caught my eye for whatever reason. And that was where, that with mixed with the skateboard art, I just picked up the pencil, and man, so many times I was told by my teachers to be doing what I was supposed to be doing, man. And I was just drawing, and that's pretty much been the story since, just that's my outlet, that's how I kind of, I guess, connected who I was to tattooing. Because then after starting to draw tattoos I saw my friends get, I think I started realizing that was something that kind of like caught my attention, and I started thinking, well, after this it's either college football or the military, because I'm feeling this camaraderie thing. I've been 4 years in school, but also I had an art scholarship from my art teacher and from the Cal Arts Institute. So it was a partial scholarship, and it's funny because me and my dad and my grandpa, we all go to tour this school out in Santa Monica, and I'm expecting to walk in there and see like pencils and paintbrushes and like a messy splattered studio, like, like an art studio, my picture of what that is. And I go in there, man, and they bring me into this computer lab. And I'm looking around and I'm like, this is not.
Here's not what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I'm like, this ain't for me. There's no paint around here. Like, there's no nothing. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to do this art school thing. So I go to Moore Park College. I basically do about 3 or 4 weeks there, football, and then they give us a break. And then the next semester starts, so I had to sign up for all the different credits and everything to keep me eligible to play. And by that point, I was just already sidetracked. I already had just bought myself a motorcycle, and I was, driving, and I was done with school, and it just felt like I needed a break from all of that school, you know. And it was like right around that time was when my dad passed back in 2006. And after that, man, I feel like I was like, who was gonna tell me anything? You know what I mean? Like no one was gonna tell me what to do or not to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so then I think everything again, kind of back in the same story, it just turned into bar fights and, you know, getting another tattoo and then, you know, being this like wannabe rock star cool guy, but kind of in the back of my head knowing that I had this talent, like that I could probably somehow manipulate or turn into something. And my mom always told me, like, you're gonna do something with your art once you figure it out, you know. So I started doodling on some of my friends with this kit I got online. Did about 4 or 5 horrible tattoos, sneaking off in my room with my stereo cranked up so my pops wouldn't hear it. And I would be just, you know, going to town. And then after a few of them, I realized, like, I love doing this, but like I'm messing my friends up. You know, they got these terrible tattoos on them. So yeah, man, like the addiction started probably right then and there.